Today, Sigma have probably won the award for the most surprisingly unsurprising announcement ever. We've known for about the last 2 weeks that Sigma today were going to be announcing 3 new mirrorless lenses, a 14-24 f2.8, a 35 1.2, and a 45mm f2.8. But Sigma seemingly also caught everybody by surprise by announcing a new full-frame mirrorless camera called the FP. And these announcements for me seem to suggest that Sigma are trying to go in every direction now. It's quite peculiar because for the last kind of 2 years, Sigma's mentality has pretty much been let's just go for out and out quality of everything, forget size, forget weight. We don't care how big it's going to be, we just want it to be the best that it can possibly be. But these announcements today are kind of a mixed bag. The 35mm f1.2, that follows suit. In fact, it even exceeded what I was expecting. About a week ago, when the rumours started coming out about these lenses, I put a video up about the 35mm, and I speculated that I thought the lens would be about the same size as the current 35mm 1.4 for Sony E-mount. This is a 7-year-old lens, and I figured Sigma's philosophy has changed somewhat in that time, so now they make their lenses bigger, they focus more on better image quality. Case in point, the 40mm f1.4, which is optically fantastic, but it's also fucking huge. But I figured the size gain from their new philosophy and the 1.4 versus 1.2 would be offset by the fact that this lens is being designed specifically for mirrorless, so it can be made smaller. And turns out I'm wrong. This is 13 glass elements in 11 groups. It's 77mm wide and is 112mm long with the adapter and has a 67mm front filter thread. The 35-1.2 by comparison is 17 glass elements in 12 groups, is 88mm wide, 136mm long, has an 82mm front filter and weighs over a kilo. It's actually closer in size and weight to the 40mm 1.4 than it is to this. Now, I'm no doubt the 1.2, along with being the similar sort of size as the 40mm, is probably going to have the similar performance, i.e. absolutely fantastic and better than this. But it's also $1,500, whereas this is nearly half the price. So do you really need the 1.2? Obviously, if you're shooting on really high resolution cameras and you're cropping in quite a lot, then yeah, you're probably going to notice the difference. But from what I've seen of the test charts of the 40mm compared to this, center sharpness is about the same. It's all in the corner sharpness wide open at f1.4 that you gain the advantage. But with this, if I'm shooting at f1.4, I'm never putting the subject right up in the corner. So everything in the corners is generally out of focus. You're not going to notice how sharp or not it is. And if I have got stuff in the corners that I want to see, I'm generally stopping the lens down anyway to clear off the vignetting. You're going to improve the sharpness anyway. So what would you be picking? Would you pick the 1.2? Would you go with the 1.4? Let me know your thoughts down below. Next up, the 14-24mm f2.8. I've seen a lot of people commenting on social media and the likes that this lens is nothing more than the DSLR lens with the back section adapted to a mirrorless in the same way that Sigma did with all of their Art Prime lenses beforehand. That actually isn't the case. This lens is a brand new lens designed from the ground up. And you only need to look at the optical construction and the size and weight of the lens to see that one. So the DSLR lens is made up of 17 glass elements in 11 groups and consists of 3 fluorite and 3 super low dispersion glass elements. In terms of size, it's 96mm wide and would have to be 153mm long, including the adapter, in order to work on mirrorless, and it weighs 1150 grams. By comparison, the lens that's been announced today is 18 glass elements in 13 groups, consists of only 1 fluorite lens element but 5 super low dispersion elements, and is only 85mm wide by 131mm long and weighs less than 800 grams. So the new lens is smaller and lighter than just the DSLR lens on its own before you even factor in needing the adapter as well. And lastly, the 45 2.8. This is where Sigma have gone like a complete U-turn. They've gone from everything being huge, massive lenses, all about image quality, This thing is only 64mm wide by 46mm long, weighs only just over 200 grams and costs about $550. So it's like a world apart from everything else that Sigma have been doing recently. Now, when all the previews came out of this lens, people were going, well, what's the point of this lens? 45mm, f2.8, really dinky, why would you go with that? That kind of got answered when Sigma announced the FP camera, which I'll get onto in a second, because the two kind of complement each other quite well. But before we get there, one very strange thing about this announcement of these lenses for me is the lens mount availability. Obviously, they're all available in Leica L-mount because Sigma are a part of the L-mount alliance, and they're also available in Sony E-mount. But what's strange is that they're the only two mounts it's available in. No Nikon Z-mount, no Canon RF mount. Now, possibly the reason that they haven't done it in the Nikon Z-mount is because the Z-mount is a 16mm flange distance and has that really wide diameter. So maybe designing the lens around the Nikon mount and then upscaling it to the others was just too much. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if these lenses then can come out in a Z mount or if they have only been designed for the 18mm flange distance and further. But it is really bizarre that it's not available in RF mount, because the RF mount is also a 20mm flange distance, the same as the Leica L. So the two are very similar. Now, possibly it's because Sigma are trying to reverse engineer autofocus algorithms, but the EOS R has been on the market for quite a while now, so it's not like they've been short of time to do it. And there wasn't even a mention in the announcement that they were going to be bringing an RF in the future. So is it that they're working on it and then they'll announce it, or have Sigma strangely not supporting the RF mount? But on to the big surprise of everything, which is the FP camera. Now, this announcement was surprising for two reasons. Firstly, because there was no rumors of it coming in the first place, so it kind of took a lot of people by surprise. Secondly is the specs of the camera. And I don't mean the performance specs. It looks like a fairly standard camera, although the information is quite restricted. Sigma didn't really give too much away about the information. They did give a very pointless 2-minute stop motion video, however, showing the camera being attached to various lenses, which told us only one thing, that this camera looks ridiculous when attached to giant telephoto lenses. What gets me with the announcement, though, is the size of the camera. This is being regarded, I believe, as being the smallest, lightest, full-frame interchangeable lens camera ever so far. Now, if I tell you that it weighs 370 grams, it's 112mm long, 70mm high, and 45mm deep, you'd probably be going, is that good or bad? I don't know. To put it into perspective, there's two cameras that I know of that are very, very similar in terms of size and weight. They are both 112mm long, they are 68mm high, and about 45mm deep, and they weigh 390 grams, so actually a smidgen higher. They are the Canon M3 and M6. The dinky little APS-C cameras. Now, I used to own the M3. I know how small and light that camera is. And for an APS-C camera, it's pretty small and light. For a full-frame camera, it's damn near insane. And what for me is bizarre about that is the fact that it's Sigma. Again, Sigma's mentality has always been really big. Forget everything else, let's just go for the best quality we can get and sod the size. Yes, the new 45mm f2.8 is going to be a great companion on this camera. It's going to make a really good street photography camera. But if you put any other Sigma lens on it, it's going to be ridiculous. The camera body's the size and weight of a credit card, and yet all of Sigma's lenses are like house bricks on steroids. The two just don't quite go. Hopefully what I hope it does mean is that in the near future, Sigma are going to be coming out with more lenses that are focused on smaller size and compactness rather than just all-out image quality. But again, time will tell. However, what caught my eye more about the design of that camera isn't the ridiculously small size and weight. It's the gap in between the bulk of the body and the camera screen. Because obviously on all cameras you've got the camera body and you've got the screen on the back of it. A lot of the screens are articulating or they can be moved away. And it's generally well said that you should move the screen away from the camera body when you're shooting a lot of video in order to control the heat better. Now the reason for that is because right behind this piece here, you've got the sensor, the circuit boards, all the processors that generate all that heat when you are recording continuously. But what Sigma have done seemingly is spaced the screen slightly away from the body. And that allows the heat to escape, but it's not just open air in there. It looks like they've got lots of little pegs connecting the screen and the body, so it's also secure, but it gives lots of small channels for the air to flow through and increases the surface area quite a lot, so it acts like a giant heatsink. So if that does mean that it can do 4K continuous recording in such a small body without overheating, I think a lot of other manufacturers are going to start to follow that same sort of design trend. But what are your thoughts on these announcements? Do you like the look of these lenses? If so, which is your favorite? And what do you make of the FP camera? Do you think it's an ingenious idea? Do you think it's sparking a new trend? Or do you think it's a bit of a gimmick? Leave your thoughts and comments in the box down below. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.